Here we go. I'm from South Africa. I've been living in Sweden for 17 years, or too long, as I like to say. I thought I was going to move back to South Africa sooner, but I'm stuck here now, so I'm going to stay. They asked me to talk about vibrancy, and or vibrant, and I preferred using the word vibrancy just because vibrant means full of energy and life, but I prefer it's the state of being full of energy and life. It's a decision you make to say, I want to be, and then you are. And then your whole life is just about that then. I'd like to think that that is who I am, but this is where I'm from. We have, where I grew up, whales outside the door on my beach, and then we've got elephants. Those are the two big things that I grew up with. 30 minutes I can go and have a look at as many elephants, as many lions as I want. But my hometown where I grew up was Port Elizabeth. They recently changed the name Port Elizabeth to Gothenburg. It's a very, very easy word to say for tourists. So a lot of tourists just stick to the name Port Elizabeth. But if I had to move back, I'll move back to Cape Town. Cape Town is just a fantastic city. And now I live in Gothenburg. It took me 2 years to stop comparing. To say, well, you cannot compare. Gothenburg has its charms, and I live here, and I have to get used to it now. So I like to surf. We don't have waves outside in Gothenburg, so I had to just get used to that. In 2005 was the first time that I moved here, or when I came to Sweden. I moved here officially in 2007. 2005 I came here during summer. And then I went back to South Africa for summer, and then I came back here for summer, and I went back there for summer. So I had 3 years of summer, and it was fantastic. So I did an exhibition when I learned Swedish. I worked at a coffee shop just to learn Swedish. You know, I stood in the shop and I wrote down all the words that all the things that I could see around me, and learned all the Swedish words so that I know what they are. And I remember a young kid coming to me and said, "Hey, kan jag få en bricka?" And I was like, "Don't know what it is. Can you point to it?" And he pointed to a tray, and I said, "Okay." So I missed a tray, so I wrote bricka. Now I know a tray is a bricka. But I did an exhibition just on summer. So I called it summer, which is English, and sommar, Swedish, and Afrikaans, which my third language is somer. And sold all my photographs because it was happy, and it was... Everybody loves summer. So this is what I grew up with. And when I moved here, this is what we had. It is, you have to get used to the weather. Can you see? I'll move back and forth. I'll also stand here. This is what you have to get used to. You know, chairs don't look the way chairs look. Footballs don't look the way footballs look. Bicycles. But you got to learn to love it. You have to get used to it. It is different from where you're from, but you have to just get used to it. The one thing in Sweden which I absolutely love, Swedes are amazing at this. Leaving the last piece of cake. The last bulle, the last of everything. You can be away for the whole day, and when you come back to the party they left that for me. And I always eat it, just because I think they're so nice. And growing up in a country where apartheid South Africa, where it was very segregated. People weren't treated equally. This I love. You get a number and you're the same as everybody else, and you stand in line and do not go ahead of your number. Swedes hate that. Don't do it. I do it, but only sometimes when the numbers are long. So, but I have 2 paintings hanging in my house. They're quite big, to remind me where I'm from. I don't want to forget. I live here, but I am from somewhere else. This zebra is just a symbol of Africa. I like having that reminder. And then the second painting I bought from a local artist in Cape Town called Biko. And this is the day that Nelson Mandela got released from prison. This is as vibrant as you can get in my world. So as soon as I walk into my lounge, I look at this picture every single time because it's massive, it's hanging there, brought it from South Africa, and it's just a reminder. So this is what Nelson Mandela said, and I want to just cover the Swedish language. If you talk to a man in a language he understands, it goes to his head. If you speak to a man in his own language, it goes to his heart. Learn Swedish as fast as you can, get it done, move on. Don't moan about it, learn it, get going, and check it off. I took the first year and studied Swedish. It took 7 months full time. I know not everybody comes here and they can have the luxury to be able to do it full time. I did. It takes 7 months to learn Swedish. We were 25 people in the class, 19 different languages. All of them took 7 months, but it is full time. But what I do, the first meeting I had with the board of a company, I sat and I tried to impress everybody with my language skills in Swedish. So I went into the board meetings, talked to them in Swedish, talked about that I'm going to help their company with strategy, I'm going to sort out their communication problems. But I started noticing that people weren't really engaged. They were thinking that my Swedish isn't absolutely perfect, that, maybe I just missing a couple of things. And the second meeting, what I did is to the second company, I spoke in English. I went in, I speak English fluently, I sound educated, I got their attention. This English is their second language, they have to concentrate what they're listening to. Nobody in the meeting is going to, in front of their other colleagues, say, excuse me, can we do this in Swedish? And what I did then, halfway through the meeting, I just switched to Swedish. Naturally, just carried on speaking Swedish, and now in their heads they go, holy fuck, he can speak Swedish as well. So it's just a plus. So speaking Swedish is amazing, but when I go out into town, I speak English. I act like a tourist because I get treated very, very nicely. But you still have to learn the language because it's where you live and you have to get it done. Has anybody read this book? Good. This book saved my life. With one line in the book that says, Sweden becomes a home when you can find the right river to fish in. What it means is if you like photography, find groups that like photography, join them, and you'll see that Swedes are like you. They like photography. If you like fly fishing like I do, Sweden has amazing rivers. Some of the best fly fishing rivers in the world is in Sweden. So find the thing that you love doing, and you'll find people that love doing it, and you'll connect with them, and you'll be in. That's as simple as this is. Read the book, it's really, really good. So what Andrew Brown did was, he moved here, and then he moved away because he hated Sweden. And then he came back years later, 20 years later, and then he found out that he actually loves Sweden. Because he just completely missed the point. If you want to live here, stop moaning, just carry on with it. Learn the language and get going. So what I did was, when I moved here in 2007, Swedes, denim was massive. Cheap Monday was a very hot brand. Everybody had a pair. I couldn't understand it. I spoke to friends of friends, and they said, the thing with raw denim is you have to wear it. You have to wear it every day for 6 months up to a year, and as soon as you're done wearing it, you wash it. Then it shrinks just 5% or 1 centimeter, and it becomes your best favorite jeans. And I was like, I've got to test it. So I went into a shop, and I bought a pair of jeans from a company called Dr. Denim. They're a local company here in Gothenburg. And I tested it. 6 months, 183 days, non-stop. That was one part of it. The second part of it was, I wanted to find out if I can blog about the same topic every single day for 6 months. Writing about a pair of jeans every day. The stuff runs out, but you try and find it, and you find it. So I've done the test twice. Once during winter, once during summer. Winter's better because summer you're sweating and it's just... But if you want to find out how to clean jeans, how to get wine out of jeans, how to get dog poo out of jeans, how to get without washing it, read the blog, it's all there. But what happened was, because of the blog, the owners, Alexander, one of the brothers, got in touch with me. He said, I love your blog, do you want to come have coffee? Today, Alex is one of my best friends. And I haven't paid for a pair of jeans in 17 years since that first pair. I get as many pairs of jeans as I want. So it's just, what is it that you want to do? And do it. And you'll find ways to connect. So my life was just spent in denim. I had all kinds of jeans on, and it was all free. I even had a dog. These are the brands that I've worked for since moving to Sweden, 17 years. They're some of Sweden's biggest companies. I've been very fortunate. But all of this started with my girlfriend of the time having a friend that said they know somebody that has an office, a design agency, where you can rent space. So I rented a desk and I started working there, trying to find my own clients. And then one day they said, hey, could you help us just update the website for what I'm at rent? It's like, yeah, absolutely. And that's how it started. The next company, because now you're meeting people, the next company said, hey, do you want to come sit at our office? I'm like, what's the rent? He goes, no, you can sit for free. And all of a sudden the rent's gone. And then you start working with them. And then that company went through a change, and I went to another company. So my life's changed this year as well. And on Monday I start working with Stierna Recycling. So it's just one opportunity, one person is what you're looking for. Not 700 CVs sent out. That's a way as well, but just personal connection is how it happened for me. And then two things that I do religiously in my life. I want to remember my life. That's the reason I don't like spending New Year's, Christmas in Sweden, or midsummer in Sweden, because it's all the same. And Swedes love it, and 100%. But it's the same food, it's the same place with the same people. I want to remember the days of my life. So what I do is, every single song that I add to a playlist, on my Spotify playlist, is based on a memory. So if I was in a car with you, and we're having a good time driving, and there's a song that plays, I'll add that to my playlist for that year. And next time I hear the song, I remember, oh, that's the time when you and I were driving in the car and we had a good time. And I've been doing this since 2011, every year. And I'm currently listening to 2015's playlist because that's a time in my life when things also changed. And it's just a way to remember, because time flies. And if you don't remember what you did, you're going to be looking into the future and go, oh, I haven't done anything for the last 10 years. I'm scared of what's happening in the next 10 years. And then the other thing which I do is, whenever I get a big project or a new job, I always buy something that I can remember that job by. So my first salary that I earned in 1996, that's when I started working. I got a job at an agency. My first salary, I bought this watch. That's when Swatch launched their first metal watch, and they called it Irony, because it's ironic that they made metal watches now. So this watch is 28 years old. It's bought for my first salary, and it's a reminder of where I came from. Who's 28 in this audience? There we go. There's another one. You're as old as my watch. So it's just, I want to be reminded of what it is. But I've always had a dream. The one dream was to earn a foreign currency. I am in Sweden. I earn a foreign currency. It's checked off. The second dream was to build a brand with my best friends. So I met this guy, Adam, and that guy, Richard. One's from Australia and one's from New Zealand. I'm from South Africa. So we have cricket to talk about, we have rugby to talk about, we have the sun to talk about, we have proper oceans to talk about, we have fish in the sea to talk about. So what we did was we started a brewery called Bibliotheek. And can you see the free shirts from Dr. Denham? So we started this brewery, and we've been going now for 12 years. and it's been a dream come true. From the start, we started with bottles, did an illustration, and the reason I wanted to create a brand with my friends was so that I can do all the designs. All designers want to do a can of beer or a packaging design. It's just their dream to be able to see their design on packaging. Packaging design for me at the moment is it's been so much, because since then I've done 380 different product designs on beer cans. So I'm a little bit tired of it, but this is just where the brand has gone in 12 years, from a bottle or different packaging all the way through to where we are today. We started in 2021, we created a distillery called Wet City Spirits, because we live in Gothenburg. It rains all the time, but there's a lot of water around, and a wet city was, during the Prohibition in the US, a wet city was called a wet city because that's where you can get liquor. So this is just the two companies that we created. Started off by hand, bottling, capping by hand, everything by hand. It was really craft. And then we started making some money. We could buy a canning line. We could grow a little bit more. And then I thought about how are we going to do our pack shots. You know, went down to the sea or the river, put our first product on the side, and took a photograph, and I thought, that's what I want. It's going to be amazing. We're going to have all these fantastic packaging shots, but we don't live there. This is where we live. So I had to find a way to get my packaging done so that it works in Gothenburg. So I started working with 3D immediately. I have friends who have a 3D studio, and all of my pack shots then were just done them in 3D, so I can sit at home and get the pack shots done, and it's all sorted out, 5 minutes, no hassle, no photographs, no nothing. So South Africa is called the Rainbow Nation, so I love color. I put on my Swedish outfit today. It's all black, but just to add some color, we have white shoes. And then obviously the underwear is colorful. You have to have colorful underwear. But my world has always been with color. I love color. But every year, I pick a color to remind me of that year. This year's color is bright orange, bright yellow. Last year was baby blue. The year before was brown. So that when I look through photographs, I can see which year it was from. So this is my color that I started working with the brewery. All the different styles of beer had a different color. The problem that we had was we started making so many different new products that they all started looking too similar. What I needed to do then is I needed to create a color palette that showed it's possible to have more products, more yellows, more blues, more everything. And what this does is it goes from light to dark and all the way through to yellow again, and it just expands forever. It just follows up to each other, which means every product now has a space. But this is just going to take some time. But as soon as you start working full time and have more time, you can start experimenting with more illustrations. Now you've got time to sit and actually design a can. So this is just some of the designs that I've done. I'm an illustrator as well, so some of the cans that I've done. It's been my life's work. I've had it on my list to create a brand with my friends, created the brand, it's done. I don't want to design another can. It's not going to add anything. I don't want to design another bottle. I've got a wine farm in Australia that I'm busy working with at the moment. My first love is wine. I had a chat with you earlier about going to South Africa and loving wine, but I happen to just live in Gothenburg, and I happen to have a brewery, and I happen to have a distillery. It wasn't, if we had chose to make shoes, it would have been fine. If we chose chocolate, it would have been fine. I couldn't care less about what it was. But it happened to be beer, and it's fantastic. So I'm just going to go through a little bit of the stories of each of the products, because we say that every beer's got a story. And when I do beer tastings, I can tell you exactly why, what's the color, what's the name, how did we get it. And at our brewery, because one of our owners is a nut job and the other guy's crazy, it's always fun. Coming up with the names, coming up with the designs, coming up with everything. It has been fantastic. So there's my Christmas jersey. It's just to tease my mom. And this is just a beer called stocking filler. Does everybody know what a stocking filler is? Small thing that you can throw into somebody's stocking that's hanging, and this is a small present. So a beer is a stocking filler. I've got a friend, James, called Black Badger on Instagram. He works with Fordite. Does anybody know what Fordite is? Fordite? One person, thanks God. Fordite is when they spray paint cars, all the paint that falls on the ground hardens. So, and then they break it off and they sell it. What Kurt does, what James does is he makes watch faces with it. So when you cut through it, it's got all this amazing colors and textures and everything, and he makes rings and watch faces with it. So I was inspired to use that to design some cans for the Great Swedish Beer Festival. Every year, depending on what style of beer it is, it gets a different color, gets a different treatment, and what's nice with those, with Fordite is, it is impossible to replicate. One is one, and that's it. So every single watch looks different, every single ring is different. And then, as soon as you start traveling between countries, you can't take everything with you. I had a lot of CDs that I wanted my music. This is before MP3, I'm old, okay. This is before MP3s and it's before digital. I had to throw all of my jewel cases away. That's the plastic that's around the CD, and so that I can only take the CDs with me. And so then later on it was MP3s, and I was like, oh, finally don't have to carry my music. And then it was digital and everything else. But the same with art. I had to move all of my art across to digital because I couldn't carry all my paper with me and all my pens and all of that stuff that you lug with you. This is my first illustration that I did on the iPad. I took all of my illustrations that I've done, scanned them into the iPad, and tried to replicate exactly what it's supposed to look like. So I've got all of my pens that I had offline, I have now online. Everything that I can draw exactly the same so it looks the same. So when you print it, it looks exactly the same. So this has saved me, the iPad has saved me. So I just take my iPad with me and I can do everything that I used to do before. When I grew up, that's what my dad looked like. I saw him behind a newspaper. That's my dad. He's always been behind a newspaper, and everybody always wants to be on a can. He's like, can you put me on a beer can? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. What you're going to look like on the beer can is, I can't decide that right now, but it's probably not going to be the way you want to be on a beer can. So this is just a beer called Mango's Crazy for Peaches, because they had mango and peaches in the beer. And it's just a reminder. So my dad loved the illustration because it was him but that's what I grew up with. Look up and my dad looks behind the newspaper. We got a new brewer in last year, Tom, or Thomas as I call him. Everybody who moves to Sweden knows this. You get that big jacket that you have that you don't, that it saves you from everything. You just have one big jacket. So Tom's from Leeds, and he has this jacket. Doesn't matter, he's always got this jacket on. During winter, it's just his one jacket. So we had a discussion about what we're going to call this beer. And it went backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, and I was getting a little bit irritated. Can we just come up with a name? So we settled on Cherry Almond Pie Surprise. And I asked him, do you want to be on the label? He goes, yeah, absolutely. And then I put him on the beer label. And I got my revenge. We got a salesman, 2016, Henke, and he said, I also want to be on a beer label. Perfect. So I put him on Cross-Eyed Coffee Rye. And then just before he left us, he asked if he could be on another label. I said, absolutely. And this is the fun thing about having the illustrations. The Photoshop file with all the layers and what you see there is not the same. I drew everything. And I just cut it off so that I know it's there, but you can't see it. And if you want to know why I have a moustache, it is in the beer industry, everybody has beards. A little bit stocky, a little bit shorter, and a beard. So when somebody comes to the brewery and says, hey, I spoke to somebody, it's like, who was it? Yeah, he was short, he had a beard. I'm like, you got to be more specific. So I just grew a moustache because, hey, it's the guy with the moustache, they know it's me. But if you talk about a beard, it's... So we created a beer called I Never Agreed to Date You Without a Beard. I know. And then we always mess around with people on the other side of the counter. So we stand on this side pouring beer, and then we created a beer called Shakes Fist Angrily. You know, when you're driving away in your car and you see in your rearview mirror there's an old man standing in the road shaking his fist at you, that's what this is about. And if you wanted to get the beer from us, you had to come to the stand and shake your fist like this, and then we'll pour it for you. So you get this interaction just because of the names and everything. But this is the longest name that we've put on a beer. You can lead horses to water, but you can't make them enjoy the view. And in order to get this beer from us, you have to say the full name. In Sweden, people go, jag vill ha hästen. I was like, we har ingen hästar. It's like, and they say, oh, fine, okay. It's like, I'd like one. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them enjoy the view. We think it's funny. And then in all of my design, I hide something. Every single one of them. Whether it's in, like I said, the Photoshop layers, or whether it's open in the design. Does everybody know what losing your cherry means? Yeah. Okay, good. For those that are scared to say they don't, it means losing your virginity. And the beer is Lost My Cherry by the Salty Sea. It had sour cherries in, salt and pepper. So that's why you've got a salt and pepper shaker there. And then I keep on, so the text is, there comes a time in everyone's life when they lose something they can never get back. This beer is dedicated to everyone who has suffered such a loss. So I keep on telling people I hid stuff in the design here. And people are like, oh yeah, it's the Bibliothek logo. It's over there. I was like, no. If you have a look at the clouds and the sun, and you imagine it's sperm and an egg, then the next time you look at the design, you can't stop seeing just that. I think it's funny. And then because we live in Gothenburg, there's things that you learn here that you don't, that's different from where you come from. Gothenburg has 5 centimeters of tidal difference. 10 centimeters. Stockholm has 5. There's no tidal difference in Sweden. Canada has 40 meters. South Africa has 2 meters. You can see there's a difference when the tide comes in. So when you have a tidal difference here, it's got to do with the weather, just pushing the water or pulling the water. That's it. So we created a beer called Waiting for the Tide to Come In, which is funny because you're going to wait forever. And it's also just a lesson for people to go, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, no, you did. And then my favorite design that I've done, the one that gets the most comments every time we do. This is also a cultural shock. I brought my parents to Sweden, and we went to Stockholm, and it was Pride Fest. My mom's a bit religious, my dad's okay, and now they're at the Pride Fest, and everybody's happy, and everybody has little clothing on, and it's in Stockholm, it's summer, it's a little bit rainy, it's a fantastic time. But it's a cultural shock. My parents have never seen this in their entire lives. So I went out for a beer with my girlfriend, and when we came back to the hotel, I walked up the steps, and at the door, my parents were just coming out, and right in front of them, 2 guys just grabbed each other and hånglade, like my dad's never seen anybody kiss. And it felt as if the entire world just went into slow motion of not really understanding what is going on. And we speak about that a lot, and it's opened their eyes to say, well, people are different, just everybody's different. If I'm allowed to be on this planet the way I am, they can be on this planet the way they are. And so we designed this beer. It's got passion fruit and strawberries in it. So the one guy's got a red bike with passion fruit, and the other guy's got a purple bike with strawberries, and they are really, really happy. Does anybody see the cartoon series called Archer? You know, when he's drinking a beer or a drink, he's always just got his finger up because he just wants you to hold. Just, I'm nearly done. Hold. And that's what this is. Just give me a sec. I'm just a little bit busy at the moment. So this is one of my favorite designs that I've done since the start. Thank you.